and welcome to How to Deal When the Shit Gets Real podcast. I'm Marietta.
And I'm Connie, and today we are here with Lauren. So tell us a little bit of how you deal when shit gets real, and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I have had a very interesting last couple of years, and it started when I decided that I was going to quit my job and stay home with my two little boys. At that point, we were moving when I was 30 weeks pregnant into a fixer-upper.
Oh my goodness.
Meanwhile, I had decided that as soon as I went on maternity leave, I was going to launch a business that I had already been working on. Did that. My son came 3 weeks early. We were not as ready as we wanted to be. And all of a sudden, I said, okay, I had already been working on this public speaking thing that I have been doing. And I had already been working on the book that I wanted to write. And so I kept on doing that. And it went from, okay, I have two kids to take care of. And now I'm going to add in all these extra things in all these little spare pockets. And I'm going to do everything else that I need to do as well, right? And fast forward a couple months and everything shut down. And I kept going with everything. And now everybody was in my house. I had to figure out how to work around everything, still launch what I wanted to launch. Ended up rewriting the book I wrote 3 times and had to deal with a 1.5-year-old at the time, a newborn, my husband being home, and me trying to control the chaos that was my house and my life. And here we are.
That was a lot in a very short period of time.
You're crazy.
Yeah.
Why did you rewrite your book 3 times? Was it just not like up to snuff for you, or was that an editor thing?
So I started writing it, and it started as just stories of me. And well, if you can't see me, I grew up with scars from the time that I was probably 6. I was born with a birthmark, had it taken off. And I grew up with that all through my childhood. And so when I was sitting at my job one day, I said, this is not what I want to do. I need to do something else. And I came up with a personal chef or a public speaker. And so I went to the one person who is a little bit of a dreamer, also a realist with me, my mother. And she said, here's the roadblocks I see. She goes, I think you'd be a great public speaker and you got a message. And I said, okay. So I started writing it, and it was all the stories of how my childhood affected me, how it was starting to resurface, as you might say, and all the things that I was going through. About that time, I found out that I really had very little confidence. My self-esteem was very low. And for whatever reason, it just started coming out. I couldn't do interviews very well. And I was always angry. And I'm like, what the heck is my problem? So I wrote this book, and I didn't even write the book. I got to chapter 3, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? I cannot get past chapter 3. This is a story about me. Seriously? So then I rewrote it after somebody said, the book that needs to be written usually will come to you and write itself. And I said, okay. So I went back home and I kind of redid my outline and I wrote the whole thing. And I gave it to my mom because I said, I really want this to be somewhat accurate for, all the details that I'm putting in the story. For whatever reason, we were just sitting on it. And then I had a conversation with somebody else, and they said, people are really not concerned about the accuracy of it. They want your story. This is your story. And they want your perspective and how it affected you. And I was like, well, crap. So I worked on it a little bit. Then I did have a friend who has a degree in creative writing look at it, and she read through it and she goes, "Well, here are my notes. I see where you're going. Here's what I would do." So I had to kind of reformat and rewrite the entire thing, and it is what it is now.
Is
So
the
what
book
is-
finally out and published?
It is. I am working on the audio version. It is only an ebook right now. It is on my website or on Amazon, and hopefully someday I will be able to get it on printed version.
Nice. What's the title so all our lovely listeners know?
It is Go With Your Gut and Then Keep Going.
I like it. Very catchy.
It did not come to me until the very end. I had a different title for a long time. And one day I was thinking about it and I'm like, this is about going with your gut.
I like it.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's how it works. I've had book titles. Usually mine don't come to the end either. Or like you're writing a certain section and like just that one sentence, you're like, oh, okay, that works.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the childhood traumas and issues that you had that are featured in the book?
Sure. So a lot of it came from, I didn't realize how much negative self-talk I had. I was actually a very happy kid, which I find very interesting. But I was standing there and, I would be standing in the grocery store line with my mom or something, and I'd see kids looking at me. And, kids are staring at you like, what is wrong?
And kids are very truthful and blunt too, which
Right.
never helps.
Right. And they didn't
Yeah.
say anything to me, but at that point, I was young. I didn't have makeup and my scar lines were rough and discolored. And so, they'd be over like tugging on their mom's shirt and being like, looking at me. And I didn't hear what they said, but I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, they're talking about me. They're saying how whatever I look, whatever that was. And then how many times do we go in the bathroom and look at the mirror? Every single time I went in, I would sit there and look at myself. And fortunately, I never ended on I'm ugly, but it was you look different. And if you see me, my left eye is a little bit pulled down. It is much less than it was, but my cheek is very tight from some of the surgeries. And so my eyes have always looked uneven to me. And every single time I'd walk into a bathroom, look in the mirror somewhere, I'd just think, you just don't look quite normal. And you can imagine when I get in the middle school, high school, all those ages.
Oh, God, even worse.
Right. Walking through the hall thinking all these ladies look perfect. Crap. So all of that, I think, just led to me not feeling like I was good enough, not having the self-esteem that took away the confidence. Because, during, school and everything, I would need to do stuff. And I'd say, I can't do that. Like, I can't get up in front of all those people. And somehow I survived all that, and it started coming out mid-20s. Then I had to deal with it.
That's not an easy thing to deal with. You probably have been holding it in that whole time, not even really realizing it.
Yeah, it's very weird to deal with that stuff when it starts coming out, because you don't know how to deal with it. That's not really things that we're taught. Especially, like I said, I had a good childhood. I didn't have any idea that was coming. I didn't know how to deal with it. And all of a sudden I was like, I couldn't do interviews. I could barely talk to some people. I'm a friendly person, but I would just be like, yeah, it was bad.
So how did you end up dealing with it?
I woke up one day and I had had some other things going on. I worked from home before it was cool. And I woke up one day and I had been so angry and I had no idea why. And, I'm thinking I'm mad at this person for this and this person for this and this person for this. And I went up one day and I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I cannot sit here. Like, it's draining. I'm starting my day out on a horrible note. I can't go through the whole day like this. So I pulled out a like 15-year-old spiral and literally just sat there and wrote for like 10 or 15 minutes and wouldn't want to read what was in that because it was, this person sucks. I can't believe this person did that. And after that time, it was like a weight was lifted off of me. It was the weirdest thing. And so I just kept doing that. And as I started doing that, I just kind of started shifting perspective and realized all the things that I was thinking that I was blaming on everybody else. And, at this time, I had a lot going on. I had like a 4-month-old baby. I was in a job I wasn't happy with. And I think at that point we were looking for a new house. So I had a lot going on, but I was like, my mind was like a storm, honestly. And so I began to listen to anything positive I could instead of sitting there and my mind just spiraling downward. Between all of that, I finally started to catch my brain when it started spiraling downward. And I'm like, okay, let's see how fast I can start catching myself so that I can turn it around. And once I made that a habit, all of these things started changing. And I was like, oh, I can control this. I do have power over this, which is then what led me to, I can change my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I can make a difference and I can do this for myself. It was a very gradual change. It took a lot of work, but damn, it's been worth it.
I would say so. If you went from that to being a public speaker, I mean, talk about a progression. That's amazing.
I think like public speaking is one thing I've actually always kind of enjoyed, but it's taken me a long time to let go of the opinions that come from, hey, I'm going to be public about this. Because that's always really bugged me. One of my chapters is a recovering people pleaser.
Oh God, yeah. I have my
I was going to say we both need to read that.
Yep. Although I don't think I'd ever be able to stop trying to please my mom, but for everybody else, yeah. Like for me dealing with everybody else, yes.
I'm 100% with you. Although actually me working through getting past the opinions of some of my immediate family has been one of the biggest roadblocks and I'm still working to let go on that. But I'm making a lot of progress, but that's one of mine.
Oh yeah, me and Rihanna share that in common too. Our family is a treat. Not always in the best way.
And you're right, it's hard because it's like programmed in your brain, like you have to love these people and you don't have to. Like if they're not good for you, you don't have to.
One thing I've kind of learned for myself is I've learned to love people for where they're at and who they are. I don't necessarily have to be happy with who that is, but it's helped me to let a lot of things go that really shouldn't affect me.
Yeah.
It's been a big lesson.
I heard a really good quote the other day. I don't know if I was reading it. Actually, no, it was our other guest. And I think you'll appreciate this, Lauren. He was talking about when somebody calls you a name or whatever it might be that causes you pain. But you thinking about it over and over and over again is you making yourself suffer. So
right.
So you don't have to suffer. So that's exactly what you just made me think of saying that.
Yeah. It's really incredible. People can call you a lot of things. Most of the time, it's a reflection of how they feel. Yeah. And they just don't want to dig into that. A little psychology there for you. But I've learned that a lot about myself because I've I used to be just like that, and it has been really hard to break that habit. Yeah, my brain has been a war zone for quite a while working through all of this stuff.
Did you have any help through a psychologist or a friend or whoever?
Yes and no. All of the action steps that I've done, I have initiated. I have found people that inspire me on podcasts. I have found books that speak to me really well. I've, through a lot of different places on social media, I've found a lot of great support and people that, speak energy into me. And they're just like, you got to keep going with what you're doing. People need to hear you. People need to hear your story. And so all of that has really been what has kept me going. So no formal help, but there's no way I could have done this on my own.
Do you have a book that you read that you would recommend? I'm always looking for new books. So
I knew Rieta was going to ask that question. It was the first thing that popped in my mind.
I always love hearing the books that inspire people because I never stop reading.
Let's see. I can't even tell you all the books I've read in the past year.
Just even one that sticks out to you, or that was one that you had your like aha moment or anything like that.
Now that you ask me, my mind is like blank.
Of course, because that's how it goes.
I hate that.
If I was just
Isn't
sitting
it
there,
though?
I'd be able to name 15 off to you. But now that you ask me that, I have no idea.
You'll lay down in bed tonight and go, I know what book.
Yes, I will. These 4 would be fabulous for you, but right now I cannot think of them.
That's okay.
So funny. Do you have your favorite podcast that you like listening to? And is it ours? It has to be ours, right? I'm just kidding.
Of course.
We're number one, obviously.
I will tell you the 3 that really got me started on podcasts. Well, the one I listen to every single morning is a devotional, and it's a 10-minute podcast called First 15, and it's easy and it's nice to just sit there and quiet and listen to that. The few that got me started are the Chalene Show. Chalene Johnson is a Beachbody instructor. I did her program, and then I just love her. She is very real, but gives you a nice large kick in the ass. So the Chalene Show, and she has a business podcast called Build Your Tribe. The Brendan Show. Brendan is a life coach, but does a whole lot of other things. And he's just very inspirational in the way that he talks. And he's kind of a little bit of a realist. And then the other one I love is the Mindset Mentor, Rob Dial. And he is hilarious. And he is like, get the hell out of your own way.
Love that.
Your mind is you. Stop blaming it on everybody else. There's no reason that you should be stopping yourself from doing all these things. And he's hilarious.
So now that you've given us all the things that have inspired you, what's something like a tip or advice that you could give to our listeners from the Lauren?
So some tips is, and some of these have been very prevalent in my life lately. It helps a lot if you can shift your mindset from everything is happening for you, not to you. Because even if it's difficult, it happens for you. You may have to go through a lot of crap to get where you're going. But if you can shift your mindset to that, it's really amazing. Being able to find the opportunity in the difficulty. Because everybody has a lot of people, I shouldn't say everybody, has a really hard time doing that because we get so stuck in the this sucks kind of thing. And if you can shift your mindset and say, yeah, it's been really tough, but what's this going to be able to push me to do? Am I going to start this? Am I going to learn something new? I think COVID sucked for a lot of people, but in a lot of ways, it pushed a lot of people to start new things, to do something for themselves. It forced people to reevaluate a lot of things that they were doing in their life.
Oh, for sure.
The other one is embrace change. And that seems such common sense, but no one loves change. Change is hard. It means we get thrown out of our routine. And I mean, heck, my week has been full of change and it's been really hard. I've been prepping for it for weeks and it is still kicking my butt. But I'm saying, okay, this is moving into a new season of life for me. So I'm going to make the best of it instead of sitting here and crying and thinking, why is this happening to me? Because it's all making me stronger. But I would say my biggest tip, and I don't know if people would find this hard or not, is you can't control what comes into your head. You can't control what your mind does, who says what to you, but you can control what you do with it. You can control how you react to it. And it takes a lot of practice and it's hard some days.
Oh, yeah.
And it makes me want to pull my hair out some days. But if I can sit, reevaluate for a second and say, okay, I get to control what I think. I get to control how I react to this or what I say to this person instead of just blurting something out that I'm going to regret. You can control that. And that's a hard concept to learn and a hard concept to take to heart.
Well, those were all great tips. Embrace the change. In the military, we call that embrace the suck.
Yep, that works too.
So if you were stranded on a desert island and you didn't have to worry about food and water, well, and housing, I suppose. I don't know. What are 3 things you'd bring with you?
I would bring my Kindle and something to give me some sort of internet if I forgot to download some books. That would happen. And I have no idea what the third thing would be, but I am a person who actually enjoys being in my own head. But
so you would just enjoy the desert island and be fine. You're like, I'm just going to chill here with my books and it's cool.
I might have to find one person to bring because.
So not the husband. You're like, I'm going to find a person. I don't know about the husband. He has to stay here and
He's going to take care of my kids.
Yeah. Well, but you do have to bring somebody, otherwise you're going to have a Wilson situation going on, and
Oh my God, really?
I don't want to go too crazy. So I got my book to have time in my head and do all of that. And who knows? It might be him, but someone's got to take care of my kids too.
You're welcome for that one.
You can give the kids to mom. They love grandma, right? Just send the kids to grandma.
There you go.
My mom would be like, yes, please. Send them here. I'll keep them forever.
Your mom begs everybody for their kids, basically.
My mom loves kids.
She
kids,
does
babies.
All of my cousins and like, no, I'll watch them anytime. Seriously.
It's because no one will actually take her up on it. She's waiting for the day for somebody's like, here, please.
Yes, I will. My
Don't
sister
worry,
and I would both be like, here you go. And she'd be like, oh.
She'd be like, great.
I don't know if people don't believe her or what, but she's serious. So Connie, when you have a baby, she will take it.
Well, I know our cousin who has the 3 little girls would, except for the fact of like the distance to get to her house than to go out and then go back home is the reason. Like it's like proximity.
That is
easier to go, to parents.
Proximity is definitely a problem because like when you want to go out on a date now with your husband, you don't want to be spending an hour to drop the kids off.
Yeah, we usually try to go somewhere around their house. And then I'm like, how do you feel about driving out and putting them to bed?
Yeah.
It goes both ways sometimes.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah. So I got at least one more question for you.
Yeah.
I saw that you used to blog. Do you still blog? Are you still motivated to do that, or did like you start writing books instead?
I do blog. I'm not quite as consistent as I used to be. I actually, it really doesn't matter what I get to write. I really do love to write, and it's very therapeutic for me.
I feel that.
I started doing that a long years and years ago. It wasn't that many years, but enough. And, I was like, I'm going to do this. And it was a little bit probably more for me. And it really started because I was like, I'm going to write about my chaotic life and the circus that is everything that I have going on. And the more I started writing, the more I was like, here's the situation. Here's what I'm struggling with. And here's what I've learned from it. Here's how I deal with it. So it turned a little bit more from like, here's my crazy life with my kids to a little bit of a personal development thing, because I found myself struggling with all these different things. And I was like, I'm going to, be like, okay, here's what I'm going through. And, here's how it might relate to anybody else's life. Here's how I've dealt with it. And hopefully it will help somebody. And I'm, like I said, I'm not as consistent with it as I used to be, but I love to do it. It takes a lot of effort to figure out what I want to write about. And my kids consume a lot of my brain space right now.
Well, yeah, they're little.
Yeah. Once I get back into it a little bit more, hopefully I'll be adding to them, but I still love to do it. And I love when I get a notification that somebody new is following me or somebody else has read something that I wrote a while ago, because I'm like, oh, good. They're still helping somebody.
Yeah, that is good. That seems like a decent blog versus the blogs that I skip over just to get to the recipe.
The only part that I really like is talking about substitutions, because I am totally the person that fails at the meal planning. And I'm like, I don't have half of this stuff. What can I sub to make this work?
Oh, yeah. Well, I have enough cooking that I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll just sub this. It's fine. Or I'm just like, I kind of like your recipe. I'm going to make it my own now. I don't like half of these things, and I want this to be.
I wish I was good at that. If I did that, it would be horrible.
It's taken years and years and years. So, because I think I started cooking when I was 16. So it's been at least a good 20 years of cooking a lot of random things and making my own recipes.
I need the recipe.
Always need new recipes.
Hey, and I still learned like a bunch of new things. I was like, so that's how you're technically supposed to do it.
I wish I could do that. I really do.
See, that's a new goal for you. Learn how to wing it in the kitchen.
Yeah.
She's like,
every time I do that, my husband's like, you should not do that again. I'm like, okay.
Why? What have you substituted where it turned out so bad?
I don't even know. Most of the time he tells me it tastes beige.
Well, that's weird.
And I didn't know colors had taste. Interesting.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I added a whole bunch of spices and good stuff in there, so it shouldn't, but okay.
I'm like trying to think of like, what does beige taste like?
Yeah, apparently like nothing. I don't know.
Maybe, man, we're gonna have to write. But that's something you should write a blog about. What beige tastes like.
Hey, it is a good blog idea, because what I can do recipes, but what I struggle at is this, and this is how I've tried to overcome it.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. So are you still public speaking or not right now where the kiddos are little?
I am
working. You took my question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Pretend Connie asked that.
No.
I'm still working on that. I'm actually um working on getting back in the job force since my kids started daycare, and that's a whole nother beast in itself.
Isn't it?
I am doing the public speaking as much as I can. I have been throwing pitches out as much as I possibly can, and I am also working on getting publishers to help with getting my book in print and marketed a little bit better than I can, because marketing is
Rough.
not my thing.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of different things going with all of that, but working on all of it, I'm actually excited. I've got a online, well, I'm doing it online, but online and in-person conference next month that I get to do a speech about working through your fears. So
Nice.
I am crafting my actual speech right now, and I'm really excited to be able to do that.
That's awesome.
That's like the new direction though of public speaking, seems to just be like Zoom meetings like that or Clubhouse and stuff. Everyone's like, yeah, let me go see this conference from home. Hell yeah.
But even the big people were doing it. Rachel Hollis did a completely virtual. There's been a lot of big names that have even been doing it that way. I mean, it's the way the world is right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something awesome about being able to attend the event and shut your computer and not have to travel anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I just did an authors conference, and it was great to be able to like watch the videos when I wanted to and go back to it and rewind it. And if I have to pee, I don't feel bad.
I feel like you probably get a lot more out of it sometimes with that too, if you can go back and rewatch it. About a month ago, I started a little private Facebook group that has just been, it's called Revive. And it's been really fun because it's been me kind of talking about all my current, here's what I've got going, here's what's on my mind, and trying to do a little bit more of a community engagement, but it's in a private group. So it's not just, everybody can talk about those sensitive, vulnerable things and not feel like they're getting judged by anybody. So it's been fun. I've posted a whole bunch of videos in there and all sorts of good stuff. So it's been an interesting little transition to be able to have that platform as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's a love-hate really with social media, but there are a lot of good things about it.
Isn't it though?
Yes. Right before I started being active on it, I was about ready to delete it because I'm like, this is not doing me any good. And then I started having fun with it and being active and utilizing it how it benefited me. I was like, oh, okay.
All right. Well, thank you for being a guest with us. This is how to deal when shit gets real. Don't forget to listen to our episodes that come out every Friday and hit us up on all of the socials. And obviously listen and rate and review, of course. So see you guys next time.